Ladies and gentlemen, imagine standing face to face with a force so disciplined, so unyielding, that the very air around him seems charged with quiet power. A figure who embodies centuries of unwavering loyalty and relentless self-control, who, without uttering a single word, commands respect from thousands. This is not just a guard. This is a living symbol of an iron will forged by tradition, honor, and an unbreakable code of discipline. In a world drowning in noise, distraction, and fleeting attention, his silence speaks louder than any shout. Today, you will witness a story that challenges the way we think about strength, commitment, and presence. This is a story that will reveal how true power isn't about reaction or words. It's about the quiet, relentless loyalty that moves mountains and shapes destiny. Brace yourself, because what you are about to discover will change the way you understand discipline and devotion forever. Discipline, in its purest form, is internal. It is forged not in the gaze of the crowd, but in the quiet hours when no one watches. For the Royal Guard, discipline is not a performance. There is no applause, no ovation, no call for attention. There is only duty, and duty, when true, asks nothing in return but to be fulfilled. From the moment a guardsman dons his uniform, he carries more than wool and brass. He wears centuries of expectation, of legacy, of unbroken silence in the face of chaos. He becomes a symbol, not because he wishes to be admired, but because he has accepted a standard that refuses compromise. To those who observe from the outside, the spectacle of the guard may seem theatrical, even archaic. But to those within, every motion, or lack thereof, is born from a code older and deeper than mere display. Discipline is often mistaken for decoration. Tourists point cameras. Hosts on daytime television laugh. They interpret the stillness as stiffness, the unresponsiveness as robotic. But that is only because they misunderstand the intent. The guard does not stand for amusement, he stands for allegiance. The red tunic and bearskin cap are not costumes. They are symbols of restraint, of readiness, of reverence for something greater than the self. The irony is this: those who perform for applause are rewarded in the moment. But the guardsman, who stands for hours unmoving, earns something more enduring: the trust of a nation. Discipline is not glamorous. It is not loud. It is not even understood by most. But it is vital. Because when chaos comes, when uncertainty arrives, it is the disciplined, not the dramatic, who remain steady. There is no scoreboard for patience, no medal for composure, and yet, without these, there would be no order. The discipline of the Royal Guard is not meant to be clapped for. It is meant to assure, quietly, that some things remain constant. That in a world of noise, some will still choose silence. In a world of self-promotion, some will still choose purpose. And in a world obsessed with being seen, some will still choose simply to serve. To stand motionless while the world moves around you is not a failure of ability. It is a triumph of will. Stillness is not something imposed upon the guardsman. It is something he chooses. He chooses not to react, not to engage, not to be drawn into the theater of distraction. And in making that choice, he asserts a power that is deeper than movement, a power of restraint. It is easy to move. It is easy to flinch, to respond, to shift under pressure. But to remain still, when every impulse in the body calls for action, requires mastery. This stillness is not born of passivity. It is born of rigorous control. Every muscle tamed, every instinct trained, until the body becomes an extension of intention. This is what most fail to see. They mistake immobility for inability. They believe the guardsman does not move because he cannot. The truth is far more formidable. He does not move because he will not. He chooses to hold the line not because it is easy, but because it is expected. Because it honors something beyond personal comfort. Stillness, in this context, is a message. It tells the observer, I am here not for myself, but for what I represent. The still figure before them is not diminished by lack of movement. He is elevated by it. In a time when reaction is instant and attention is fleeting, his refusal to break stance becomes a form of resistance. Declaration of steadiness in a culture of impulsivity. There are moments when mockery meets this stillness. A laugh, a gesture, a challenge tossed casually in his direction, and yet he remains unmoved, not because he cannot hear, but because he chooses not to respond. That stillness in those moments is heavier than any retort. It is unshakable. It is absolute. This kind of composure does not come naturally. It is earned through repetition, through correction, through hardship. It is the result of standing in the rain, the cold, the heat, of ignoring heckles, flashes, distractions. It is the result of standing when it is boring, standing when it is exhausting, standing when every part of the body screams to bend, and still choosing not to. The stillness of the royal guard is not emptiness. It is full of purpose. It is filled with centuries of tradition, with the memory of those who stood before, and the quiet promise that the standard will not slip. It is filled with the silent agreement that here, in this place, discipline holds. Ceremony holds, decorum holds, and so, while the world scrolls and snaps, tweets and laughs, the guardsman stands, not because he must, but because he said he would. And when a man keeps his word without needing praise, that is not limitation. That is strength. In a world increasingly driven by visibility, the concept of silent service can seem foreign. Spectacle surrounds us, crafted, curated, and broadcast for maximum reaction. Yet, within the gates of tradition, behind the red coats and stone-faced stillness of the royal guard, lies a different ethos. One that rejects performance for applause and embraces duty as its own reward. The royal guard does not stand for spectacle. He does not ask to be watched, photographed, or ridiculed. He does not require a stage or seek a spotlight. His role is to serve, and service, true service, is indifferent to audience. It does not shift when eyes are on it. It does not swell with praise or shrink under mockery. It endures, quietly, consistently, and without need for validation. Every morning, the guard rises not to impress, but to fulfill. He polishes his boots not to gleam for the camera, but because precision is part of the code. He tightens his belt, aligns his buttons, and dons his bearskin cap with a reverence not for show, but for tradition. It is a ritual, yes, but one of discipline, not vanity. Tourists may gather, cameras may flash, and laughter may ring out. Yet none of this is the purpose. The guard remains still, not because he is acting a role, but because he is fulfilling one. There is no script, only standards, and those standards do not fluctuate with public opinion. They remain as fixed as the guard himself. In the modern age, to serve quietly is to be overlooked. To act without broadcasting one's effort is to risk being called irrelevant. But this is precisely what separates the guard from the world around him. He does not serve to be seen. He serves because he said he would, because his uniform, his post, and the institution he upholds are not for entertainment. They are for continuity, for meaning. Spectacle demands reaction. It thrives on being noticed. But service is its opposite. It is prepared to go unnoticed, to carry the weight of expectation without the benefit of acknowledgement. The guard exemplifies this. Whether standing in the pouring rain or beneath a scorching sun, he does not alter his bearing for approval. He simply does the job because that is what he promised. Those who perform for spectacle can be swayed by crowd sentiment. Their presence is dictated by response, but those who serve, truly serve, are unmoved by such forces. They continue with or without applause. They find fulfillment not in external validation, but in the integrity of the task itself. This kind of service is uncomfortable for many to understand. It doesn't beg for praise. It doesn't sell a story. It doesn't chase fame, but it creates a foundation, a quiet, steady certainty that some things will be done right, not because they are glamorous, but because they matter. The guard does not need to be thanked to continue. He needs only his orders and the resolve to carry them out. In a society that prizes personality and performance, this is a powerful contrast. The guard becomes a symbol of what is often missing, a commitment to something greater than the self, a willingness to remain consistent, composed, and correct, even when no one claps, especially when no one claps. There is no award ceremony for standing still through ridicule, no news headline for unwavering posture. And yet, those who choose service over spectacle create the conditions for order, for tradition, and for trust. They are the reason institutions last beyond trends. The guard understands this. He is not there to please the crowd, but to uphold the crown. He will not dance. He will not flinch. He will not smile for the camera, not out of arrogance, but because the purpose is greater than the passerby. The meaning is deeper than the moment, and service, when true, does not pander. It persists. In a world where noise often wins attention, silence has become one of the most misunderstood forms of strength. Yet it is in silence that the royal guard holds his greatest power. While others heckle, laugh, or challenge, the guard responds not with words, but with unwavering stillness. That silence, unyielding and absolute, is louder than any insult hurled in his direction. Mockery, by its nature, seeks engagement. It aims to provoke a reaction, to draw the target into a shared stage of humiliation or spectacle. But the royal guard denies this stage. He offers no facial response, no vocal reply, not even a glance of acknowledgement. And in that denial, the mockery loses its power. It collapses under its own weight, unanswered and unmet. There is something disarming about complete silence in the face of ridicule. It reveals the futility of the mocker's effort. It exposes that the attempt to diminish has fallen flat, not with defiance, but with indifference. The guard's silence does not mean he is unaware. It means he is unbothered. His composure is not ignorance. It is intention. Many believe silence is a void, that it is passive or weak or uncertain. But the guard teaches otherwise. His silence is full. It is filled with purpose, discipline, and control. It says, without words, that he is not here for games, that his duty is not affected by the immaturity or misunderstanding of others, that what he represents is immune to petty challenges. In truth, the louder the mockery becomes, the more profound the silence grows. For every jest shouted at the guard, the absence of response grows heavier. It begins to press on those who seek to disturb him, turning amusement into discomfort. The silence becomes a mirror, reflecting the childishness of the behavior it receives. It does not need to scold or defend. It simply holds and lets the contrast speak. This silence is trained, but also chosen. It is a decision made anew each moment, especially when challenged. The guard must choose, again and again, to honor his station more than his pride, to prioritize the dignity of the role above the satisfaction of reaction, and this more than any snappy retort, is what commands respect. Not everyone will understand this. Some will continue to laugh. Some will mistake silence for submission. But those who look closely, who truly observe the stillness of the guard, will see the restraint. They will understand that silence, when used correctly, is not emptiness. It is power held in reserve. It is control exercised with surgical precision. When someone mocks and receives no reaction, they are left exposed. Their words hang awkwardly in the air, searching for meaning that never arrives. Meanwhile, the guard's silence remains intact. It grows stronger, and eventually it makes a statement that cannot be laughed off. This is the art of composure, of understanding that not all battles require engagement. That dignity, once relinquished, is hard to recover, and that in some moments the strongest thing a man can do is to do nothing at all. The guard embodies this not as a tactic, but as a way of life. He answers mockery not with defense, but with quiet refusal to be diminished. His silence says it all. Tradition is not merely habit repeated through time. It is legacy maintained through conviction. It is the preservation of meaning, of values, of unspoken understandings that give form to discipline and shape to identity. The Royal Guard stands as one of the clearest expressions of tradition in the modern age, not as a relic, but as a living continuation of something older than any individual, older even than the stones of the palace he guards. The guard's posture, his uniform, his expressionless stillness, all these are inherited forms. They are not personal preferences, nor are they subject to daily revision. They are upheld as acts of reverence, not only toward the institution he represents, but toward those who stood before him. Every motion, every inspection, every turn of the heel echoes the footsteps of countless guardsmen who held the same line under the same sky. That continuity, that unbroken thread through time, is what gives tradition its weight. In an era where everything is reimagined, disrupted, or discarded, the unchanging form of the Royal Guard cuts a striking figure. To some, it may appear rigid or outdated. But this misunderstanding stems from a shallow view of tradition, as if it were simply nostalgia wrapped in uniform. What is missed is the reason tradition persists, not because it cannot change, but because it refuses to be diminished. It resists the temptation of convenience. It demands effort, and in that demand, it reveals the seriousness of the role it supports. When a guardsman stands immobile, it is not because he is acting out a museum piece. It is because he understands that by embodying tradition, he becomes something more than himself. He is no longer merely a man at a gate. He is part of a greater continuum. And in that continuum, behavior is not determined by impulse, but by standard. A standard upheld not by force, but by respect. Respect is not automatic. It is not owed simply because a person wears a uniform. It is earned through the display of values that transcend the individual. Discipline, endurance, purpose. Tradition encapsulates all of these. It holds the memory of sacrifice and the continuity of commitment. It offers a visual and behavioral language that says, here, in this place, certain things are honored, regardless of time or trend. The Royal Guard's presence is not a performance, it is a reminder that service to something enduring requires consistency, even in the face of ridicule. A reminder that identity, national or institutional, is not rooted in what is new, but in what is preserved with intention. When the guard refuses to speak, flinch, or smile under pressure, he is not being obstinate. He is safeguarding the dignity of his post. He is showing that tradition is not fragile but firm. This kind of tradition does not demand attention. It does not scream to be understood. It simply is, it endures quietly, and in doing so, it commands respect, not because it shouts louder than modernity, but because it stands taller than it. The silence of tradition speaks through the poise of the guard, through his refusal to be shaken, through his willingness to bear the weight of ceremony, even when the world forgets why it matters. To laugh at the guard is to misunderstand what he represents. It is to overlook that he is not there for entertainment, but for continuity, and continuity in a world of transience is sacred. The guard stands not as a man frozen in time, but as a man standing within time, carrying its memory forward. His presence says, "This still matters, this still holds, and because of that, I will hold my ground." A uniform, by itself, is cloth and ornament. It carries no meaning unless the one who wears it understands what it represents. The Royal Guard's uniform is unmistakable. Red tunic, gold buttons, gleaming boots, and the iconic bearskin cap. But its value does not lie in its design. Its meaning emerges from the man who wears it, and what he brings to it from within. Honor is not stitched into fabric. It is worn through conduct. The guard's uniform does not grant him dignity. It demands it. It is a visible reminder of invisible standards. When a guardsman steps into his uniform, he is not becoming someone new. He is being reminded of the responsibility he already carries. The uniform is not permission to be respected. It is a signal to uphold respect through behavior. There is a solemnity in the way the guard dresses. Every button fastened, every surface polished, every line straight. This attention to detail is not about vanity, it is about intent. It shows that the person wearing the uniform understands its significance. That he is not casual about his role, that he brings his full discipline into every inch of presentation. In that presentation, others can see a glimpse of the values he holds: precision, pride, and preparation. To wear the uniform and fail to embody its standards would be a betrayal of trust. The uniform is not armor for ego. It is a canvas for character. It challenges the wearer to match its formality with internal substance, to meet its ceremonial elegance with personal rigor. The guard must be as sharp in mind as he is in dress, as composed in demeanor as he is in appearance. This is why mockery, though frequent, fails to touch him. The mocker sees only the surface, the hat, the boots, the silence. He does not see the man within, the man who has endured months of training, who has internalized codes of conduct, who has sacrificed comfort for continuity, the man who, despite provocation, will not break posture, will not abandon his responsibility, will not step away from the standard his uniform requires. The uniform does not empower weakness, it exposes it. If the wearer cannot uphold what it symbolizes, the failure becomes visible. But the Royal Guard has no such weakness. He has taken the outward symbol and matched it with inner resolve. He becomes not a mannequin, but a monument, a living representation of values that do not yield to ridicule or trend. There is an irony here. To many, the uniform is the most visible part of the guard. It draws attention, invites photography, even laughter. But to the guard himself, the uniform is not for show. It is for reminder. Every time he catches his reflection, every time he straightens his stance, he is reminded of what he stands for. And in that reminder, he finds not ego, but purpose. Honor, like discipline, is invisible until tested. The uniform is tested daily, by weather, by fatigue, by disrespect. And each time, the guard must meet that test not with noise, but with integrity. His honor is not proven by how he responds to praise, but by how he endures insult, by how he maintains poise when others lose theirs. The true strength of the uniform is not its symbolism, but the self-respect required to wear it well. There are many uniforms in the world, but few are carried with such consistency, such pride, such self-restraint. The Royal Guard does not wear his to be admired. He wears it to remember what he represents, who came before him, and why none of it must be allowed to falter. His honor is not on display. It is embedded in every silent choice, every unshaken stance, every moment he refuses to be moved. Dignity is not shaken by mockery. The Royal Guard does not answer laughter, does not flinch at childish taunts, and does not return the smirk of the foolish. He has trained not only his posture, but his will. He does not react, because reaction would reduce his purpose. Those who jeer misunderstand strength. They see silence and think it weakness. But to remain unmoved in the face of public derision requires far more than a loud reply. It demands control, presence, and the refusal to be pulled down to triviality. The Guard does not serve to entertain. He is not present to validate those who seek a moment of attention. His duty is not subject to the behavior of the crowd. True dignity remains upright while others fall into noise. The Guard's restraint speaks where words would only diminish. He guards not only the palace, but the principle of composure under pressure. His silence is not the absence of thought. It is the presence of command. The Royal Guard's uniform is more than tradition. It is a test of steadiness. The crowd may shift, shout, or attempt to provoke, but the uniform does not. The man within it holds the line with an unyielding presence. The red coat, the polished boots, the bearskin cap, none are meant to entertain. They are symbols of continuity. The uniform does not blink because the man wearing it has trained his body to obey a higher code. He does not adjust to please those who mock. He does not twitch for cameras. His stillness is not stiffness. It is control, a discipline refined until even the smallest movement is deliberate. Those who try to provoke him expect reaction. Instead, they are met with a silence that outlasts their amusement. The uniform remains exact because it must. If it swayed with the mood of the crowd, it would lose all meaning. It does not serve public approval. It serves duty, and duty does not blink. The Royal Guard's loyalty is not merely a superficial commitment or a fleeting feeling. It is an unyielding, deeply ingrained dedication that has been shaped by centuries of tradition and discipline. This loyalty is a silent vow, a sacred promise that transcends the individual and binds the Guard to something far greater than himself. It is a commitment to protect and uphold the honor of the institution he serves, the history it embodies, and the values it represents. His loyalty is not dependent on the applause of the crowd, nor is it shaken by the changing tides of public opinion. Instead, it stands firm and resolute, like the ancient stones of the palace walls he guards. From the moment he dons the iconic red tunic and the imposing bearskin hat, the Royal Guard assumes a role that demands absolute allegiance. This is not a role to be taken lightly, for it carries the weight of a legacy passed down through generations. The Guard's loyalty is visible in every measured step he takes, in every moment of silence he keeps, and in the unwavering gaze he casts forward. It is a loyalty that is earned through rigorous training and maintained through constant vigilance. The man beneath the uniform understands that his duty is not merely to stand still, but to be the living embodiment of steadfastness and reliability. The world around the Royal Guard may be chaotic and unpredictable. Crowds may gather, distractions may abound, and provocations may be thrown his way, yet his focus remains absolute. His loyalty is tested daily, not in the heat of battle, but in the quiet moments where discipline is most crucial. The ability to remain calm and composed in the face of mockery or disturbance is the ultimate expression of his devotion. It is this quiet determination, this unshakable resolve, that earns him respect and admiration beyond mere words. This loyalty is not a passive state. It requires active choice and constant reaffirmation. The Royal Guard's allegiance is a living, breathing force that demands sacrifice and humility. He understands that his personal feelings or desires must be set aside for the greater good. His role is not one of personal glory or recognition, but of service and sacrifice. The uniform he wears is a symbol of this commitment, reminding him daily of the responsibility he bears. The loyalty of the Royal Guard is a testament to the power of discipline and the strength of character required to uphold an ideal. Loyalty in the Royal Guard is intertwined with honor. It is not enough to be loyal. One must also be honorable in that loyalty. This means acting with integrity, respecting the traditions and values of the institution, and maintaining a standard of conduct that reflects the highest ideals. The Guard's loyalty is demonstrated through his actions, through his unwavering presence, his readiness to face any challenge, and his refusal to be swayed by external pressures. He embodies a code of ethics that transcends personal ambition, a code that binds him to his comrades, his country, and the history he represents. The importance of this loyalty cannot be overstated. It is the foundation upon which the entire system rests. Without such devotion, the traditions that have survived for centuries would falter, and the dignity of the institution would be compromised. The Royal Guard's loyalty is a stabilizing force, a pillar of strength that supports not only the physical security of the palace, but also the symbolic power of the monarchy itself. It is a loyalty that commands respect, not because it is loudly proclaimed, but because it is steadfastly demonstrated through unwavering commitment and disciplined action. In moments of turmoil or uncertainty, the Royal Guard's loyalty shines brightest. When others might falter or waver, he remains resolute. His presence is a constant reassurance that the values and traditions of the past will endure. This steadfast loyalty is a source of inspiration, reminding all who witness it of the power of dedication and the importance of standing firm in the face of adversity. It is a silent, powerful message that some commitments are eternal, not subject to the whims of time or the pressures of circumstance. To truly understand the Royal Guard's loyalty is to appreciate the immense responsibility he carries. It is a responsibility that shapes his identity and defines his purpose. His loyalty is not a burden but a privilege, a chance to be part of something greater than himself, to serve a cause that transcends individual existence. Through his loyalty, the Royal Guard becomes a living symbol of continuity, tradition, and honor. He connects the past to the present, ensuring that the legacy he upholds will continue to inspire future generations. The Royal Guard's silence is far more than mere quietness. It is a profound language of strength, control, and unyielding discipline. In a world overwhelmed by noise, distractions, and constant chatter, the Guard's silence is a commanding presence that demands attention and respect. This silence is intentional, purposeful, and speaks volumes without uttering a single word. It is a language learned through years of training, a form of communication that transcends speech and connects with the deepest principles of duty and honor. From the moment he assumes his post, the Royal Guard understands that his silence is his greatest weapon. It is a shield that protects him from distraction, a barrier that shields his focus from chaos. The crowd may jeer, laugh, or attempt to provoke, but his silence remains impenetrable. This silence is not a sign of weakness or indifference, but rather an expression of supreme self-control. The guard has mastered the ability to suppress impulse and emotion, maintaining a calm exterior that conveys strength and resilience. The power of this silence lies in its ability to communicate authority without aggression. While others may raise their voices to be heard, the Royal Guard's silence commands a different kind of respect, one that is rooted in presence rather than volume. His stillness tells a story of discipline, of mastery over oneself, and of unwavering commitment to duty. This silence challenges observers to reconsider what true strength looks like, suggesting that power is often found not in noise or force, but in restraint and composure. In the face of provocation, the Royal Guard's silence becomes an unspoken rebuke. It says that he will not be distracted or diminished by petty attempts to unsettle him. His silence absorbs the noise around him, rendering it powerless. This is the silence of someone who knows that reacting to every stimulus is a waste of energy and focus. Instead, he conserves his strength, choosing when and how to respond in ways that serve his purpose and uphold his duty. The silence also serves as a connection to tradition. It echoes the discipline of generations past who stood in the same place, wore the same uniform, and embraced the same solemn responsibility. Through his silence, the Guard honors this lineage, embodying a timeless standard that transcends individual expression. This continuity is vital. It ensures that the values and principles that define the Royal Guard are preserved and passed on, intact and unbroken. Moreover, the silence represents a form of respect for the institution, for the monarch, and for the sacred role the Guard plays. By not engaging in frivolous conversation or distraction, the Guard maintains the dignity of his post. His silence elevates the space he occupies, transforming it from a mere location into a symbol of stability and order. It is a reminder that some duties are too important to be diminished by noise or chaos. The discipline required to maintain this silence is immense. It demands mental fortitude, emotional control, and physical endurance. The Guard's silence is not natural. It is cultivated through rigorous training and a deep understanding of the significance of his role. He learns to channel his energy into his posture, his gaze, and his unwavering stillness. This mastery is what allows him to stand unblinking through hours of duty, unaffected by the distractions that surround him. In today's fast-paced, noisy world, the Royal Guard's silence stands out as a powerful counterpoint. It reminds us that sometimes the most profound statements are made not with words but with presence. The Guard's quiet strength challenges the modern notion that louder is always better. Instead, it invites reflection on the value of restraint, patience, and focus. Ultimately, the silence of the Royal Guard is a testament to his dedication and professionalism. It is a living expression of his commitment to his duty and to the ideals he upholds. Through this silence, he communicates an unspoken promise that no matter the challenges or distractions, he will remain steadfast, disciplined, and resolute. It is this silence that ensures the legacy of the Royal Guard endures, inspiring respect and admiration from all who witness it. Through every step, every breath, and every silent moment, the Royal Guard teaches us the true meaning of loyalty, not as a word spoken lightly, but as a force unyielding in the face of distraction and challenge. His silence is not emptiness, but a profound statement of discipline, patience, and control. This is the power of restrained strength, a reminder that greatness is not always loud. Often, it is quietly steadfast. In embracing these timeless values, we find the foundation not only for personal greatness, but for honoring traditions that shape our lives and inspire generations yet to come.